No basis for inviting the minister to come to this house. The minister has done no wrong. As the statement indicates, they had no frequency authorization, so they were operating illegally, and it's the duty of
the minister must come to this house. He was approved by this house. He was given the mandate by this house. He must come and report to this house. We need to hear from him where he's getting those powers to direct the NCA to take such draconian actions.
Economic sabotage. He is committing an economic sabotage.
Ebusua Endra ewo Parliament House de na owura Afenyo Markins eniho na new D na de Honorable Anno Dompreh versus the majority leader Honorable Mahama Ayariga Ebusua na enye is Parliament House still akwetia MP no issues and other issues na no more discuss Ebusua more than fire for fire yentie Parliament near course wo Endra na kire wadwe
for the people of this country apart from jobs that he's revoking. Mr. Speaker, we should take serious interest in this matter, especially because the infraction is against an act which was passed by this house. An act, very respectfully, that this house vested power in the National Communications Authority. The minister is usurping it. Mr. Speaker, on all fours, on all fronts, the minister's action is against the interest of this country and is worthy of interrogation by this house. Mr. Speaker, the attention of this house has been drawn to the fact that the minister's power under the National Communications Authority is only limited to policy. Very respectful. It's not for nothing that, Mr. Speaker, in creating the power or in creating the institution of NCA, Mr. Speaker, we deliberately limited it that way. Mr. Speaker, it was also because we're mindful of Article 23 of the Constitution. We're mindful of Article 296 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, this action is very, very bad and should not be encouraged. Mr. Speaker, we risk setting bad precedent that the minister is closing businesses, instructing that businesses
be closed. Then listen to the leader of the house.
I'm not done.
Mr. Speaker, all those who have spoken, I have not heard anybody read the official communication of the minister closing any particular
leader
radio station.
I hope I'll come to you so that...
No. It's important. When you misinform the house, when you mislead the house, I don't have to wait till it's my turn to correct the records. None of them has laid in this house the communication directing the suspension of operations of these radio stations. None of them. That is the minister's statement. That's the minister's statement. What does the statement say, Mr. Speaker? The statement says that the directive to shut down the station is issued in accordance with Section 13(1)(e) of the Electronic Communications Act, which empowers the National Communications Authority to suspend or revoke frequency authorizations in the interest of national security, public order, or the public interest. So who suspended? Who revoked it? The National Communication Authority. The National Communication Authority. It is the National Communication Authority. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, and that was done based on a report of the Regional Security Council.
Honorable Leader, respectfully, I wouldn't like to cut you short, but please, I'll give you the opportunity as leaders to conclude. So let me, Honorable Menchia South, if you can conclude.
Mr. Speaker, it is even worse. The elucidation given on this matter by the distinguished majority leader, the Venerable, even makes this matter worse. Because, Mr. Speaker, there is an admission that that power belongs to the NCA. Nevertheless, there is a directive compelling the NCA to take a certain path. Mr. Speaker, when we all know that the NCA, the minister's power as regards the NCA is limited to policy, Mr. Speaker, it is without a doubt that that is not the policy. Or, Mr. Speaker, are we saying that the policy going forward will be to shut down radio stations? Is that, Mr. Speaker, are we saying that the policy going forward will be for the minister to be directing NCA to shut down radio stations? Mr. Speaker, is that going to be the policy? They should let us know. Mr. Speaker. Address. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in concluding, Mr. Speaker, in bringing my submission to an end, Mr. Speaker, most of these things are happening because there's still no committees in place. Mr. Speaker, if there were to be a committee in place that will have an oversight responsibility over the National Communications Authority, Mr. Speaker, it appears that the delay in constituting committees in this House, Mr. Speaker, is to enable them and is to enable the majority and the ruling government, Mr. Speaker, to evade accountability. Mr. Speaker, left to me alone, my position will be that even the vetting processes, Mr. Speaker, should be halted until committees, very respectfully, are constituted. It appears that the delay in constituting committees is enabling, is facilitating, is giving the majority and the ruling government the energy, Mr. Speaker, to commit illegalities, just as the communication minister is doing. So, Mr. Speaker, very respectfully, it is very critical that this matter, Mr. Speaker, is interrogated and the illegality resolved, especially since it concerns the breach of a law that this House has passed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I'll come to leadership. Leadership. Yes, let me start with minority leader then, or you want to start? Yes, minority chief whip.
Speaker, I think as a House we need to interrogate this matter properly. The Honorable David Sopoku has brought a very important subject matter. We all know the essence of checks and balances, and Article 23 of the 1992 Constitution, what it talks about the need for administrative body to respect laws in our country. I thought that the minister in his early days will focus on the promise and the manifesto of the NDC. Definitely, the Ministry of Communication should be looking at the cost of data. Certainly, they should be looking at mobile network connectivity. Certainly, they should be looking at their digital economy and innovation, e-governance services. These are the narrative that should be engaging his attention. I am surprised that out of the blue, the closure of radio station has become a matter of importance to the minister. Contain me, let me just read portions of the release. The Honorable Minister for Communication, and it is captioned Enforcement Action Against Unauthorized Broadcasting Operations. Amongst others, the Honorable Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation has directed the Acting Director General of the National Communication Authority. In what capacity is he directing the NCA? To take immediate enforcement action against the following entities for operating without valid blah blah blah, and goes on. Speaker, the relevant word there is directing. As to whether the minister has those powers, We need to, that is what we are seeking to interrogate. As we are an arm of government. And interestingly, the minister is a member of this house. Earlier speakers have referenced his comment when similar actions were taken in times past and the position he took. And his position now smacks of hypocrisy. Because this is the thrust of the matter. The minister must come to this house. He was approved by this house. He was given the mandate by this house. He must come and report to this house. We need to hear from him where he's getting those powers to direct the NCA to take such draconian actions. As a house, we must come together and invite the minister for him to appear and come and do a proper representation before the house and for us to interrogate these actions. We are building a democracy, and it's important we learn from incidents that have happened before. And I hear people say, during your time, you closed down Radio Gold. These are baseless defense. I hear people say, you closed down radio stations, you closed down Radio Gold. Even if it is the case, must we repeat the mistakes? We mustn't do that. We must move ahead as a nation. In the context of your resetting, you said you were going to reset Ghana, and Ghanaians are giving you the mandate. Speaker, without adding more, I think that the minister should focus on what can change the narrative. E-governance, reduction of cost of data, building network connectivity. Ghanaians are still worried about network connectivity, and this is what should be attracting his attention. Speaker, I think we will employ your consequential directives that ASAP, the Honorable Minister for Communication, should be programmed. And Speaker, shouldn't go beyond Friday. He must come before this house, tell us the reasoning behind his action, and come and show this house where he's drawing his powers by directing the NCA to take such illegal actions against certain entities. Speaker, without adding more, I think anybody who wants to comment, and earlier on, the majority leader tried to catch your attention, and he was reading something else. He should quote. This is a copy, and Speaker, I'm ready to tender this. I want to tender it. He should quote from the relief from the minister, and then we can make a proper debate on this subject matter. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Let me...
Please, table office, I want to tender this.
Let me invite the majority leader.
Leader, you should have a copy. I want to tender it, and let it be a reference.
Let me give the floor to majority leader to also comment on the statement. But
thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think that this is a very simple matter, and I'm surprised that the very valuable time of this House is spent discussing a matter that is so simple and straightforward. Mr. Speaker, this is the basis of the statement and the comments that have been made so far. I ask for your kind permission to read it, just to read it. And I'm happy that we have people who understand English listening. Mr. Speaker, listen carefully. It says that the Honorable Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations has directed the Acting Director General of the National Communications Authority, NCA, to take immediate enforcement action against the following entities for operating without valid frequency authorizations. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the acting director general of an agency under the minister to take immediate enforcement action against the following entities for operating without valid frequency authorizations. Mr. Speaker, what I hear from the other side is not that it is the case that they had license. They are not insisting that they had license. They are also not denying that they operated without frequency authorization. They are not denying. I haven't heard them deny the whole day. I haven't heard them deny that they operated without appropriate frequency authorization. Mr. Speaker, I remember that one of the oaths that we swore in this house is to uphold and enforce the laws of this country. Even if the minister had not directed, I expected you honorable members of parliament, to direct any officer who is supervising radio stations that are operating without frequency authorization. You, as patriotic citizens, as lawmakers, you have made a law that says that to operate a radio station, you must have frequency authorization. You made the law. And somebody is running a radio station, operating it without frequency authorization. And the minister dutifully directs that the law should be enforced. And you come to this house and say that we shouldn't close early and have lunch because of that matter. Mr. Speaker, they are asking how did the minister know? Because they don't know that on this side, we appointed people who are so competent that nothing will pass by them. Mr. Speaker, the minister is so competent that they didn't think he would know that those stations were operating without frequency authorization. And when the minister gets to know within 10 days of sitting in that office, they are surprised. They are mesmerized. We have the men and the women who are capable of doing the job. Within 10 days, they got to know. And he's enforcing the law. I don't understand why you are complaining. A minister is simply directing that enforce the law. What do you expect a minister to do? So please, I'm surprised that you will make the minister the subject of castigation, of unnecessary attacks, trying to question his competence, when all the minister is saying in this communication is that Director General enforce the law, because these stations are operating without frequency authorization. How is that an offense? How is that a matter for which the minister should be summoned to this house to come and answer? Are you trying to intimidate ministers and prevent them from doing their jobs? Is that what you are trying to do? The minister will shut down the stations today. Tomorrow he will shut them down. Tomorrow next he will shut them down. If they want, they should go for authorization. He will shut them down. He will shut them down. They should go for authorization. They should go for frequency authorization. If they have valid frequency authorizations, nobody will shut them down. Why didn't the minister shut down Joy FM? Why didn't he shut down City FM? Why hasn't he shut down all the other stations that are operating in town today? Because they have valid frequency authorizations. If you had come to this house to say that a station has valid frequency authorization and it has been shut down, then you have a case. So please, Mr. Speaker, I think that there's no basis for inviting the minister to come to this house. The minister has done no wrong. As the statement indicates, they had no frequency authorization, so they were operating illegally, and it's the duty of the minister to enforce the law. And he has done that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.